Alberta has a long history of responsible firearms ownership. In fact, it goes back to our very beginning as a province. And be it hunting, sport shooting, or farmers and ranchers using guns for predator and pest control. While some people in faraway places like Toronto may not understand the reality, hundreds of thousands of Albertans are simply use firearms as part of everyday life. Those law-abiding Albertans should not be used as scapegoats for the actions of criminals by politicians in Ottawa. The opposition to the former Liberal long-arm registry was strongest here in Alberta, of any part of Canada. Albertans rightfully understood that treating farmers and duck hunters like criminals would do nothing to deter criminals who, by definition, don't care about the consequences of breaking laws. Canada does have strong gun control measures that we support, including licensing and background checks. Licensed firearms owners are actually subject to an automatic criminal background check every single day. Restricted firearms are tightly regulated, including how they are stored, transported, and safely used. Ammunition capacity is limited. Handguns have been registered in Canada since the 1930s. Unfortunately, however, there are some politicians who prefer to go after easy targets, being law-abiding Canadians and their legally obtained property, instead of focusing on the drug gangs and criminal smugglers who willfully endanger lives every day. Such actions illustrate the huge gulf between the federal and provincial government's approaches to combating crime and to responsible firearms ownership. Put simply, while some in Ottawa believe in targeting legally purchased inanimate objects, Alberta believes in targeting actual criminals who represent a threat to public safety. That's why I'm very pleased to announce today 2 new actions by Alberta's government. First, we are creating an Alberta Firearms Advisory Committee to advise the provincial government on firearms policies under our provincial jurisdiction. The committee's 12 members will include 3 MLAs to be chaired by Michaela Glasgow of Brooks Medicine Hat and joined by Valley View's Todd Lowen and Onaway's Shane Getson, as well as retired law enforcement officers, hunters, sportsmen and sportswomen, collectors, and a former member of the Canadian Armed Forces. These women and men are exemplars of responsible gun ownership with broad knowledge and expertise. I'm confident that they'll provide the Minister of Justice with thoughtful, sensible ideas to help us craft policies for responsible Alberta firearms owners. The second action that we're announcing today is designed to strengthen Alberta's justice system's ability to prosecute real gun crimes. As our Crown prosecutors will tell you, the lack of a provincial testing facility for firearms weakens their ability to bring accused violent criminals to trial in a timely fashion. The Calgary Police Service already has a testing facility, and the Edmonton Police Service is in the process of establishing one. But all other police forces in Alberta currently rely on the RCMP's National Forensic Laboratory Services in Central Canada to perform this basic procedure. And today they are waiting on an average of roughly 8 months for the results, and that of course includes the RCMP that provides police services throughout rural Alberta. This puts successful prosecutions at risk, that 8-month delay. And due to the Supreme Court of Canada's Jordan decision, long delays in the justice process can result in criminal prosecutions, including those involving gun crimes, from being dismissed outright and allowing criminals to go scot-free. So that's why I'm pleased to announce that the Government of Alberta is partnering with the Calgary Police Service, the Edmonton Police Service, the RCMP, and the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Teams to patriate all of the province's firearm testing to the lab in Calgary and the forthcoming Edmonton Police Service facility in Edmonton. This will speed up the testing process to ensure that no prosecution of a gun crime gets derailed because tests are being held up down in Ottawa. Both of these actions that we are announcing today are needed because of Ottawa's failure properly to balance the prosecution of criminals with the protection of the rights of law-abiding citizens. If Ottawa really wants to protect Canadians from gun crime, it should massively increase resources for the interdiction of firearms being smuggled across the U.S. border, and most of that is happening, again, in central Canada. And it should stop the revolving door justice system and slap on the wrist sentences for violent gangsters, mainly from drug gangs, who are behind most of the firearm-linked fatalities in Canada. We sincerely hope that the federal government comes to realize this. Now, as I mentioned a few days ago, we'll be appointing an Alberta Chief Firearms Officer to replace Ottawa's appointee, and there is a motion before the legislature on that subject, which will be further debated tonight. And we are studying the possibility of further actions based on the advice of the new committee that we're setting up today, and this could include supporting the likely legal challenges coming forward from Albertans and other Canadians to challenge aspects of Ottawa's recent regulatory overreach. These concrete steps are moving us towards a system of firearms administration in the province that is rooted in the values and the priorities of law-abiding Albertans.